last video, we were dealing with elements of communication, the five elements, basic elements of communication that you need to understand for communication to be effective, which is sender. We talked of the message, we talked of the channel and medium, we talked of receiver, then we talked of feedback. But in this video, we are starting the types of communication. We want to understand the types of communication. So by the end of the lessons or this topic of types of communications, learners should be able, which is you should be able to define different types of communication. You need to identify examples of oral, written, nonverbal, and visual communication, which are the types, and we are going to focus on these. Distinguish between formal and informal communication. Apply appropriate communication types in real life situations. So let's begin. So let's start with oral communication. So there are four types of communication that we are going to focus on in this course. And these types of communication, the first one is oral communication. And by oral communication, we are simply saying is the process of sharing information through spoken words. It involves speaking and listening and can take place face to face or through electronic means. What this definition is simply talking about is that every time you are communicating through speaking, whether on the phone, whether via Zoom, via electronic means or face to face, as long as you are speaking, you are using words, you are speaking with your mouth, that is oral communication. So every time two or more people are communicating, they are speaking, communicating to each other through speaking, through spoken word, through spoken words, or through spoken words, and even if they are using electronic means, but as long as they are speaking with their mouth, it's called what? Oral communication. Oral, the use of the mouth. So communication through speaking, that's oral communication. Examples of oral communication can be classroom teachings, group discussions, telephone conversations, meetings and presentations, interviews. All these are examples of oral communication as long as the people involved in communication, in this type of communication, as long as they are speaking, they are talking, they are using the spoken words, that is called oral communication. I hope that is clear to you. So now this oral communication is in types. There are two types of oral communication. There is formal oral communication and there is also informal oral communication. So formal oral communication, we are saying communication follows official rules and structure and is usually used in a professional or academic settings. So we are talking about the communication that you have which has formal rules and the structure. So you don't just talk anyhow, you communicate following certain rules and structure. That is formal oral communication. For example, staff meetings at work. There is a way you communicate, the way you communicate in a staff meeting orally. It's not the way you communicate when you are just having a conversation with a friend. In classroom lectures, you don't just begin to talk anyhow. There is a way, there are rules of the classroom that you must follow. There are rules and there is a structure, the way things are done. Even the interviews, it's the same. There are rules and the way things are supposed to be done. Official presentations, in these kind of settings, you find that the way you communicate, you follow certain rules and structures. So as long as the way you are communicating following certain rules and structures, that is formal oral communication. If there are structures and rules, is something that is official rules and structures. If there are official rules and structures to be followed as you communicate through spoken words, that is formal oral communication. Then the other one is informal oral communication. Informal oral communication is a casual and relaxed. It does not follow strict rules and is common in everyday interactions. So this one is, it doesn't follow any rules. It's a relaxed, it's casual, it's a casual way. It's an everyday conversation. Usually in everyday conversation, you're talking to your friends, conversation with friends, family discussions, casual chats with classmates, or different way. As long as you're talking in a casual way, relaxed, without following any strict rules, this is what is called informal oral communication. Informal oral communication. Now, let us just look at the importance of oral communication. So, the importance of oral communication is that it allows immediate feedback. Whenever you are using oral communication, it allows immediate feedback because you talk to someone and they respond, they give you feedback, and the conversation goes on and on just like that. Now, imagine, for example, if you are using written communication, you are writing letters. So, you write. You wait for the person to read the letter, then they will write back to you and send, then you receive, you read, you understand it and send back to you. And sometimes, for example, if you are using WhatsApp, you send a message via WhatsApp. You find that it will be very difficult for maybe the person you've sent the message to a text is not online at that particular time, which means until they see the message, that's when they are going to give you feedback. So it allows for immediate feedback. The other one is saves time. So oral communication is quick. Because of immediate feedback, it saves time. You don't have to waste much time whenever you are using oral communication. So helps build relationships. It helps build relationships. It helps build in a relationship. When you are having a person and a conversation with someone, you are talking often, it helps build a relationship because you are able to understand, like the last point, the tone of voice, tone and voice of how a person is speaking. There is immediate feedback. You get to talk about a lot of things within a short period of time. So that's the importance of oral communication. The next one, in the next session, we are going to talk about the advantages. But before we get to the advantages, here are some of the types of formal oral communication. Like we said, takes place in the official setting. We have business meeting, classroom structures, political speeches, and ceremonial speeches. Types of oral, we have a face-to-face conversation, telephone calls, informal workplace discussion. Now, let's just look at the advantages of some of the advantages of oral communication. So these are not all the advantages, but they are some of the advantages. So number one, encourages personal interaction and relationship building. So whenever you are using oral communication, there is that personal touch. There is a personal interaction because you are talking to a person right there and then, even if it's on the phone, you are using electronic means, you are able to know the voice of the person, the tone the voice the person is using. You are able to detect those things. So there is just that personal touch to oral communication. So it encourages personal interaction and relationships. That's an advantage. It allows for immediate feedback. Don't have to wait for feedback, especially it's very convenient in a situation where it's an urgent situation. In emergencies, urgent situation, it's very good, this type of communication. It's flexible and adaptable to change. So you can change, shift the conversation right there and then as you are interacting. But whereas compared to written communication, if you have sent the letter, it has gone just like that. It has gone. It will be difficult for you to change it. It has gone. They'll receive it like that unless it gets lost. So but all of oral communication, it's flexible. You can adapt the message depending on the situation, depending on the mood of the person you are interacting with. You can easily adjust, adapt the message to suit the environment or the situation of the listener. Then it saves time in urgent situation, like I've talked about. I've alluded to this often. It saves time because there is immediate feedback, so it saves time in urgent situation. It's very convenient and very important. More engaging and persuasive. So oral communication is more engaging and persuasive. These are some of the advantages. They are not all the advantages, but they are just some of the advantages of oral communication. The disadvantages. So the disadvantages is lack of documentation. So messages may be forgotten or distorted. So this usually happen. It's one of the major disadvantages of oral communication. You find that there is no documentation. As a result, it's very difficult to hold someone accountable. They may change the message, or the message may be forgotten, they may be distorted. Why? Because there is no proper record. There is no documentation. That's a disadvantage. A limited reach. So it requires physical presence or real-time interaction. So it requires physical presence. Often requires you to be there. But also, when you are using electronic means, there is a real-time interaction, which means you have to re-interact right there and then, or get back to the person. For example, if you have used the voice note, you send the voice note to the person, they'll receive it. For them to they have to listen it and receive it. It requires a real-time interaction. So that in itself becomes a disadvantage. But technology somehow is helping, though it has been a disadvantage, especially in those days when there was no, when technology was not advanced like this. It was very, very difficult because the person had to be there. Imagine the times when there were no phones. For you to use oral communication, you have to be there with the person. Now imagine the person is in another city or in another country, which means oral communication won't apply there. The other one, difficult to verify. So information um, cannot always be fact checked. So someone may say something, it's very difficult to verify. Reason being, there is no proper evidence or record that this is exactly what was said. So in a case where maybe it's a deal or something, and then the person changes or is refusing to acknowledge that this is exactly what they said, you can't verify the information. It becomes very difficult. You begin to look for eyewitnesses, and if the eyewitnesses are not there, it becomes even more difficult. So it's very difficult to verify. So accessibility challenges, it may exclude people with hearing impairment. So oral communication is not appropriate for those who cannot hear. So it may exclude them because they have hearing impairment. So that's the accessibility challenge. And the last one, but not the least, risk of information leakage. Sensitive information may be overheard. So when you are using oral communication, it's not good, especially for sensitive information, because it may be overheard. And also there is that tendency of people saying that what I'm about to tell you, they told me that I shouldn't tell anyone. So you also don't tell anyone. The person you are telling will also go and tell another person, but give them the same instruction, which doesn't work. So there is a risk of information leakage with oral communication. So this is oral communication, the first type of communication in a nutshell. Let's see you in the next one as we talk about written communication.